You believe you control your money, but what if it's actually controlling you? The truly powerful understand a secret that the rest of us miss. Your wealth isn't a scorecard for success. It is a ruthless mirror, reflecting your deepest insecurities for the world to see. It reveals who you are, and more importantly, who owns you. This is the code that separates the masters from the pawns. But what does that mirror show when it's pointed at you? Before we continue, subscribe now to keep these videos coming, because only your support makes more content like this possible. You have been told a lie. The lie is that money is the goal, that wealth is the finish line. You see it everywhere. The weak flaunting what they have, desperate for validation, believing the shine of their gold can hide the shadows of their insecurity. They chase riches not to build, but to be seen. This is the great deception. From the strategic mind of a philosopher who understood the raw mechanics of human nature, a timeless truth emerges. Machiavelli saw it clearly, and his modern heir, Machiavelli, lived it. Gold is not power, it is merely the shadow of influence. Power is the unseen system you build. Influence is the leverage you command over people and their decisions. Money is simply the tool, a consequence of real control, not its source. The strong understand this. They move in silence, building foundations of influence while others stack coins. They seek control, not applause. So, ask yourself and answer honestly. What does your pursuit of wealth truly reveal about you? Is it a quest for strength or a cry for validation? Your answer will determine whether you remain a pawn in someone else's game or learn the rules to become a master of your own. This is where that journey begins. Rule 1. Your wealth is a mirror reflecting your inner resolve. You have seen the weak man who stumbles into riches. He buys the loud car and the garish watch, not for the joy of ownership, but for the desperate hope of being seen. He flaunts his newfound status, believing it buys him entry into the circles of the powerful. But the strong only see a fool. They see the insecurity behind the shine, the desperation that money cannot conceal. His riches are a costume, and it fits him poorly. This is the path of the weak, chasing validation through assets, broadcasting their neediness to the world. The truly strong wield their resources with a different intent. Their power is not in what they show, but in what they control. Their wealth is a silent instrument, a tool for building systems of influence, not a megaphone for their ego. Every decision is an act of discipline, a quiet move in a much larger game. Money, for them, is leverage, and leverage is most effective when it is unseen. This is the first principle you must master. Your bank account is a scorecard of your character. It reveals your discipline or your desperation, your strategic mind or your emotional fragility. So, look closely. Does your relationship with money betray insecurity, or does it command respect? Your answer reveals whether you are building true power or just polishing a cage. This leads to a second, more vital law of power. What is seen can be attacked, what is hidden cannot. True influence operates in the shadows, far from the glare of public admiration and the envy it breeds. You have witnessed this. At a gathering of the ambitious, one man loudly boasts of a recent success, his voice echoing his desperate need for validation. He broadcasts his earnings, believing the numbers make him strong. But the truly powerful people in the room see only a fool exposing his flank. In his bid for respect, he has revealed his position, his resources, and his price. He has traded all his leverage for a fleeting moment of applause, becoming a predictable pawn in a game he doesn't even know he's playing. Now, look to the quiet corner of that same room. Another individual, barely noticed, engages in hushed conversation. No money is discussed, no victories are declared. Here, a system is being built. An alliance is forged with a simple handshake that will quietly shift control for years to come. This is the domain of the strong. They understand, as Machiavelli taught, that discretion is the ultimate armor. Unseen leverage is the only leverage that lasts, for it moves the world from a place of complete silence. So, ask yourself, in the theater of wealth, are you on stage shouting your lines for approval? Or are you in the wings, silently building the empire that owns the stage itself? This leads to the next law of power. Money must be an active agent, not a passive trophy. Your wealth is either a tool for construction or a monument to your ego. Consider the man who hoards his riches. He guards his fortune, counting it in private, his spirit tethered to the number. This is his prize, the proof of his victory. But when a true crisis hits, an unexpected threat, a shift in the currents of power, his stagnant cash offers no leverage. It is a pile of stone, heavy and inert. He built nothing with it, and so it cannot defend him. In the face of real pressure, his fortress of gold reveals itself to be a prison of his own making, and he crumbles within its walls. The strong, however, understand that wealth is kinetic energy. They do not hoard it, they deploy it. For them, money is a current that flows outward to build systems, to fund influence, to acquire leverage over people and their futures. Their resources are never idle. Every asset is a seed planted in the soil of opportunity, cultivated to yield a harvest of control. They treat wealth not as a symbol of arrival, but as the fuel for an endless campaign. So, look at what you have built. Do you clutch your earnings like a prize, polished and lifeless? Or do you wield them as a force, shaping the world to your design? Your answer determines whether you are merely rich or truly powerful. This reveals a ruthless law that separates the powerful from the merely rich. Genuine power is not given. It is forged by making others rely on you. Observe the weak man who uses his wealth to buy praise. He makes grand donations and gives public handouts, basking in the temporary gratitude of those he helps. He is a beggar for admiration, trading his resources for a fleeting feeling of importance. But once the money is spent, so is his leverage. He has built nothing lasting, created no real system of influence. He has only demonstrated that his need for validation can be bought at a price. Now turn to the strong. They do not seek applause, they build structures of dependence. They don't offer charity, they create the opportunities that tie the destinies of other people to their own vision. They build the company that provides the jobs, the network that opens the doors, the very system that becomes essential for the ambition of others. This is the Machiavellian blueprint for unbreakable control. Their influence is not based on affection, but on calculated necessity. They have crafted a world where their power grows in direct proportion to the number of people who depend on them for their own ascent. This insight is stark. Dependence is the currency of kings. So ask yourself, are you using your wealth to beg for admiration? Or are you using it to build the unbreakable ties that make you essential? Your answer determines whether you are a fleeting spectacle or a permanent force. This gives rise to a fifth law of power, a shield forged in the very air you breathe. Silence is not an absence of action, but an instrument of control. You have seen the weak man, desperate to be seen as a player. In a room full of rivals, he announces his next move, laying out his strategy like a map for his own defeat. He believes his transparency shows confidence, but the strong see only a fool giving away his leverage. Every word he speaks is a weapon handed to his enemies, who will use his own ambition to engineer his downfall. He has sacrificed control for the fleeting warmth of being heard. Now, watch the powerful individual. They sit in that same room, a fortress of calm. They listen, they absorb. When pressed, their answers are disciplined, revealing nothing of substance. This calculated silence is a vacuum that others rush to fill with their own anxieties and assumptions. Their mystery becomes a source of immense influence, their intentions unreadable, their power amplified by what is left unsaid. They know that a move is only powerful until it is declared. Look at your own conduct. Do your words leak your strength, bleeding out your advantage for a moment of validation? Or does your restraint build a wall of awe, forcing the world to react to you, forever guessing at the true source of your power? This reveals the sixth law of power. What you earn is irrelevant. What you command is everything. True control is not found in a bank balance, but in the ability to shape the perceptions of others. You see it in every negotiation, in every boardroom. There is the man whose wealth is his only argument. He talks of his earnings, of the deals he has closed, believing the weight of his money gives weight to his words. But the strong are unimpressed. They see a man begging for respect, using numbers as a shield for his lack of genuine influence. His opinions are noted, then discarded, Then there is the one whose true power is measured in the silence that follows when they speak. Their means may be modest, but their authority is absolute. They have built a reputation not on what they have, but on the undeniable force of their will and intellect. Their quiet assertion sways decisions that millions of dollars could not. They do not need to buy a seat at the table. Their presence is demanded. The weak believe success is a number. The strong know it is the invisible force that bends the will of people toward their own. This changes the very nature of ambition. So ask yourself, are you chasing dollars, or are you forging a legacy of control? Are you building an account, or are you building an empire inside the minds of others? This leads to the seventh and perhaps most crucial law of power. You must build the machine, not just gather its fuel. The weak man, driven by fear, accumulates wealth as an end in itself. He stacks his earnings, counting them in the dark, believing the growing number provides security. But this hoard is a trap. It is a static pile, a dead weight that paralyzes him with the fear of its loss. He has built a monument, not a fortress. When a real threat emerges, his riches offer no leverage, no active defense. He is simply a rich man standing on a pile of stone, waiting for it to crumble. The truly powerful, however, understand the Machiavellian principle of construction. They do not hoard money. They build the intricate systems that command it. For them, wealth is kinetic. It flows into networks of people, into ventures that create interdependence, into frameworks that generate influence while they sleep. Every asset is a gear in a larger machine of control, a machine designed to run without their constant effort. Their power is not found in a bank statement, but in the unstoppable momentum of the system they have built. This is the ultimate distinction. So you must answer with brutal honesty. Are you merely a collector of coins, a curator of a museum to your own past efforts? Or are you the grand architect, building an engine of enduring impact that will forge your legacy in the world? This unveils the eighth and most unforgiving law of power. Your ascent is built upon the weaknesses of others. You have watched the honorable fool. He sees the insecurity in his rival, the desperate need for praise, the fragile ego, and he chooses to ignore it. He believes in a fair contest of merit, refusing to stoop to what he calls manipulation. He plays by rules that do not exist. But while he stands on principle, a more powerful player steps into the void. This player sees the rival's vanity not as a flaw to be pitied, but as a lever to be pulled. By offering the validation the rival craves, they gain his trust, his loyalty, and ultimately, his submission. The fool, with his integrity intact, is left with nothing. The strong, however, are students of human nature. They understand that every person broadcasts their own vulnerabilities. These are not obstacles to be avoided, but opportunities to be seized. They see the cracks in another's armor not as a moral test, but as a strategic entry point. They weaponize the frailties of people to build systems of dependence, forging influence from the raw material of human insecurity. This is the cold arithmetic of control. So you must decide, do you ignore the flaws in those around you, clinging to a fantasy of fairness that will leave you powerless? Or will you learn to see the cracks in others as the very stepping stones upon which you will build your throne? This leads to the ninth law, the crucible that forges all power. Wealth is not a reward, it is a trial of your character. You have seen the man who stumbles into a windfall. For a fleeting moment, he believes he is free. But this newfound power exposes a deeper poverty within him. He is ruled by impulse, and his money becomes the agent of his collapse. Every whim is indulged, every fleeting desire is satisfied, until his resources are gone, and he is left with nothing but the bitter taste of his own weakness. His riches did not build him. They simply revealed the hollowness that was always there. He failed the test. The strong, however, meet wealth with a different spirit. They see it not as a release, but as a challenge to their discipline. Every dollar is a test of resolve, a question posed to their will. They channel their resources with an iron restraint, understanding that self-mastery is the foundation of all control. This is the Machiavellian discipline, to treat temptation not as an opportunity for pleasure, but as an enemy to your ascent. So you must face this truth. Your wealth is a mirror reflecting the strength of your will. Does it amplify your weaknesses, making you a slave to your own appetites? Or does it become an instrument of your ambition, commanded by an unbreakable sense of purpose? Your answer determines if you are worthy of true power. This culminates in the 10th law, the ultimate aim of all strategy. Your objective is not wealth, but unshakable autonomy. Observe the man shackled by his own success. His fortune is a matter of public record, yet he is a servant to 1,000 masters. He craves the approval of his peers, bends to the whims of the market, and lives in terror of a negative headline. Every action is a desperate calculation to maintain his status within a system he does not truly control. His wealth has not bought him freedom. It has only forged more elegant chains. He has built a gilded prison and calls it an empire. Now, turn to the one who has built a fortress of silent control. Their power is not found on a balance sheet, but in their radical independence. They have meticulously carved out a domain where their will is the only law that matters. This is the strong individual who answers to no one, whose influence stems not from what they can offer, but from their complete self-reliance. They have achieved the ultimate form of leverage, freedom from the need for anyone's permission or praise. This reveals the profound insight. True richness is not the ability to buy anything, but the freedom from being bought. So you must answer this, and let the truth of it define your entire ambition. Are you building a life of gilded dependency, forever a pawn to the opinions of others? Or are you forging a solitary throne of control, an empire of one, where you are the only sovereign? This gives way to the 11th law. Ostentation is the language of the weak. Tactical brilliance is the signature of the powerful. You have seen the man who confuses spending with strength. He secures the most expensive table, his voice booming as he details the cost of his acquisitions. He believes this blatant display of wealth commands respect, but the truly powerful see only a leaky vessel, a man bleeding influence for sport. Every dollar spent on flash is a unit of leverage wasted. They smile politely while they dissect his character, mocking the very riches he parades before them. He craves their eyes, but he has only made himself a predictable target. Now, observe the strategist. Their presence is a weaponized restraint. They operate in the background of the same room, their quiet conversations shaping alliances that the loud spender will never perceive until it is too late. Their influence is felt, not seen, a subtle ripple in the currents of power that will eventually become a tidal wave. They are feared not for what they own, but for the unseen moves they are capable of making. Their intellect is the true currency of control. Flash is a fire that quickly burns out, blinding only the foolish. Enduring power is built by strategy, an invisible architecture of dominance. So the question cuts to the core of your ambition. Do you seek the hollow cheers that your riches can buy? Or are you building the quiet empire of influence that commands the world without ever raising its voice? This exposes the 12th law of power. What the world believes you possess is more potent than what you actually own. You have seen the man whose value is a weather vane, spinning in the winds of rumor. A whisper of a failed investment sends his reputation plummeting. A hint of success grants him fleeting respect. He is a character in a story written by others, his power rising and falling with the tide of gossip. He allows the perceptions of fools to dictate his reality, making him vulnerable, predictable, and ultimately, easy to control. But the master strategist understands that perception is a weapon. They do not allow their standing to be debated, they dictate it. They may cultivate an image of modest means to be underestimated, or project an aura of inscrutable wealth to intimidate rivals. They understand that a carefully crafted mystery is a form of leverage, forcing others to act on assumptions they have deliberately planted. Their power lies not in their assets, but in their complete control over the narrative surrounding them. This reveals the ultimate truth of influence. You are not what you have, you are what you can make others believe. So, you must answer. Is your fortune a public ledger, defined by the envy and speculation of others? Or is it a strategic illusion, a story you command to shape the battlefield in your favor? This reveals the 13th and final law of power. True strength is not in what you give, but in what you withhold. You have seen the fool who buys the loyalty of a crowd for an evening. He pours the wine, pays the bill, his generosity a performance designed to indebt them with gratitude. But by morning, their thirst is quenched and his leverage is gone. In his eagerness to be the center of their world, he has made himself disposable. The powerful do not see a king, they see a court jester, desperate for applause. The strong, however, understand the power of hunger. They offer just enough to create a craving, but never enough to satisfy it. Their approval is scarce, their resources are guarded, their favor is a prize to be won, not a gift to be handed out. They know that what is given freely is never valued. It is what remains just out of reach that commands the devotion of people. The weak indulge to feel important. The strong restrain to become essential. This is the cold calculus of influence. Restraint is the highest form of control, for it turns the desire of others into your greatest asset. So, the final question defines your path. Will you pour out your strength for the fleeting gratitude of the crowd? Or will you cultivate a strategic scarcity, building an empire of influence on the potent foundation of what you choose to hold back? These are not 13 separate commands. They are 13 facets of a single, cold diamond of truth. You began this journey as a seeker of riches, believing money was the prize, but each law has stripped away another layer of that deception. You have learned that strategic silence is more potent than any shouted victory, that what is hidden is what endures. You understand that influence is not bought with charity, but forged by building systems that make you essential. Your wealth is no longer a trophy to be polished, but a tool to be wielded, a test of your discipline, a mirror of your will. This was never a quest for riches, but a crucible for your character. The weak will always chase the applause of the crowd, forever trading their leverage for the fleeting feeling of being seen. They build their lives on the flimsy foundation of other people's opinions. But you have glimpsed the architecture of true control. You now see the world not as a stage for your ego, but as a grand campaign for your influence. Your objective has been refined from mere wealth to unshakable autonomy. You are no longer a chaser of gold, but the sovereign architect of your own empire of will. Look back, one last time, at the man you chose not to be. His life is a frantic performance, his money the applause track he plays on a loop, desperate to drown out the silence of his own insignificance. He is a prisoner to the opinions of people he does not respect. His every action a plea for a validation that will never come. His wealth is not a tool for control. It is the very instrument of his enslavement, a gilded shackle he polishes with pride. You have seen this desperation, and you have turned away from it. But this new clarity demands a price, a final unflinching look inward. The echoes of that old world still whisper. Can you feel the phantom of that weakness in your own past? That faint, desperate need for an approving glance? That flicker of envy at another's hollow victory? Do you recognize the ghost of the man who measured his worth by the fleeting praise of the crowd? This is the true enemy, not a rival across a boardroom table, but the remnant of the fool within your own mind. To build an unshakable empire of will, you must first obliterate this internal fifth column. You must confront every trace of that neediness and starve it of oxygen until it suffocates for good. This is not merely a change in strategy. It is the brutal, necessary execution of your former self. Only then is your foundation for true power secure. And in the silence that follows that execution, you finally stand alone, unburdened. This is the disciplined, shadowy figure you have become. The laws have not just been learned, they have been forged into your very character. You no longer chase the fleeting validation that wealth can buy. Instead, you build. You architect the intricate systems of influence that others will come to depend on, making you essential. You wield silence not as an absence, but as a pressure point, a strategic vacuum that bends the will of lesser people. You command through quiet leverage, not through the desperate noise of the merely rich. This strategic mind, a direct inheritance from the cold calculus of Machiavelli, is now your unshakable foundation. It is the lens through which you see the world, a grand game of control, not a stage for applause. So reflect on this new reality. How does it truly feel to wield an influence so profound that others cannot even perceive its source? To pull a lever that moves markets and careers, while those affected will never know your hand was on it? To watch your will become the invisible current that guides the ambitions of rivals who believe they are charting their own course? This feeling is not the hollow echo of envy or the fleeting high of praise. It is the deep, resonant hum of absolute control, the quiet dominance of a power that does not need to be seen to be felt. This is the sovereign state of your own will. Remember the mirror. When this began, your wealth reflected a man you no longer recognize, a weak figure, his face strained, desperate for the validation of the crowd. His riches were a loud, hollow cry for attention, his money a flimsy shield against his own insignificance. But look into that mirror now. The image has irrevocably shifted. In that same glass, a different power stares back. The desperation has been replaced by a cold, quiet resolve. The frantic energy of the weak is gone, supplanted by the unshakable stillness of absolute control. Your wealth is no longer a costume to be flaunted. It is a strategic instrument, a silent tool of leverage you now wield with Machiavellian precision. This is the tangible proof of your transformation, the final chapter in the death of your former self. You have journeyed from the prison of external dependence to the sovereign state of internal freedom. The seeker who hunted for riches is gone, and in his place stands the sage who architects systems of influence. But this new reflection demands more than mere acknowledgement. It demands your unwavering commitment. It is one thing to glimpse this powerful figure. It is another to become him in every action, in every calculated silence. The question is no longer what you will build, but who you must be. Are you truly ready to live this truth? To bear the weight of this silent, unrelenting control? This, then, is the essence of your new reality, an unshakable core built on discipline and radical independence. It is a fortress of influence where each law you have learned is a stone laid in place. Your strategic silence deflects the envy of the weak. Your systems of dependence bind the ambitious to your will. Your control over perception makes you an architect of your own legend. This is the true legacy of a mind like Machiavelli's. Not a set of rules for the rich, but an internal architecture of power that makes you immune to the whims of others. But a fortress of stone is only a theory until the siege begins. The real test is not in the quiet of your study, but in the chaos of a crisis. When pressure mounts and the foundations of weaker people crack, when the storm of panic sweeps the world, a single question will be asked of you. Will you falter? Will the tremors of fear reveal that the ghost of the fool still lives within your walls? Or will you stand as an unshakable pillar of control, your resilience the final brutal proof that you have become the master of your own unbreakable will? The storm will break. In that chaos, your answer will be forged not in words, but in your unshakable stillness. This is the culmination of every law you have mastered. The rules have not merely taught you, they have dismantled the weak man within, stripping away the desire for gold and replacing it with the strong man's will for control. This is the ultimate philosophy. Your wealth must be present, but never loud. It is a quiet force in your arsenal, a silent mirror of a disciplined soul, and the instrument of your unseen dominance. You have journeyed from chasing fleeting riches to mastering lasting power, from the prison of validation to the throne of sovereignty. Your bank account is no longer a scorecard for your ego. It is the fuel for the systems of influence that now define your world. This is your new reality. The true measure of your worth is found not in what you own, but in the silent empires you build and the invisible strings you command. It is found in the radical independence you have forged for yourself. Step into this truth, architect of your destiny. Let your influence be the force that moves the world, a power felt in the quiet moments where gold remains wisely and strategically mute.